Hi there, Mark Jabin here, Medical Director for the Haywood County Health Department. And let's talk about this pandemic. It's time for our weekly update. And in this video, let's review the numbers, introduce a way to judge how widespread the virus is, a look at the impact of groupings, and some possibly disappointing news about quarantining. So across Western North Carolina, cases continue to rise, hospitalizations and deaths too. Test positivity rate is around 9% for North Carolina, 8% for Haywood County, and if you'll recall, 10% is the critical threshold. In Haywood County, we are up to 276 cases, up another 35% this week alone. And you can see the curve is now in an exponential phase, rapidly rising. We're also following the number of people isolated and in quarantine. Currently this week, at the end of the week, we had 53 people in isolation, 145 in quarantine. And that's up from 34 in isolation a week ago, although this did peak at 61 in midweek, and quarantining of 94 a week ago. That gives us a COVID working number, which represents the current load in the community, of 198, up from 128 a week ago. The number of hospitalizations remain about the same in Haywood County, but there are now some ICU patients, and although this is a number that's changing daily, it seems, it appears we now have had somewhere around 10 deaths here, a case fatality rate of now 3.6%. And for comparison, the 2019 flu season had a case fatality rate nationally of 0.1%. The outbreak in a local nursing home shows just how tragic this can all be. And we've also seen a cluster now in a local business. So where do we stand in Western North Carolina? According to the President's White House Task Force, the red zone, place of highest concern, has over 100 new cases per 100,000 population over the previous week. That works out to about 14 new cases a day. North Carolina is considered in the red zone at 18 per day. And Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee are even higher, each ranging between 30 and 48 new cases a day. The Harvard Global Health Institute also ranks COVID risk levels, and they, in addition to a red zone, also have a yellow zone. Their red zone is more than 25 new cases a day. Their yellow zone between 10 and 25. And according to Harvard, there are 12 counties in North Carolina in the red zone, including Cherokee, McDowell, and Caldwell here in Western North Carolina, all in the 30s. Jackson is at 21, Haywood and Buncombe at 15, Henderson, Graham, Swain, and Macon between 12 and 14. So for the Harvard criteria, nearly all of Western North Carolina, between 10 and 25 new cases per day, would be considered yellow zone. But for the White House Task Force, with the red zone above 14 new cases a day, we are all very near or in the red zone right now. We are now also following groupings of cases for additional insight. Here in Haywood County, in a sample of positive cases from the past week, 21 of 25 were infected as part of 5 different groupings. 4 of those 25 were new index cases. And this is actually encouraging because in this case, we don't have to contain all 25 cases, just the 5 groupings, then 4 others. And this is why it is so important to identify those with close contact. But that's just the first step. For contact tracing to be effective, those identified have to honor the brunt of isolation and quarantine, showing their COVID IQ to get us all out from under this virus. So it's a little disturbing that earlier this week, 37 of the 98 people in quarantine at that time opted out of contact tracing. Now, if they still quarantine and just don't want to be contacted, that's fine. But I'm afraid they opt out and then go out and about, giving the virus a chance to jump to others. You know, we don't have to agree on everything to agree on some things, but this we can agree on, I think. We are nowhere near where we all want to be, free from our lives being dominated by a virus. The severity of illness and deaths have caught up to us. And interestingly, if we all were to follow the recommended actions, starting today, avoiding crowds, distancing and masks when you can, good hand hygiene, in just 2 to 3 weeks, we could expect to see a peak. And if we continued and drive the cases down to near baseline, as we've seen other places do successfully, we could get out from under this virus. If not, instead of control, we will just see a new plateau. And the next of the rolling waves will just drive the spike even higher. So please share this video with someone you care about And if they still have any doubt about what's going on, I'm happy to talk to them. Hey, I might learn something that really matters, and so might they. So be well and be careful, especially right now.